Today's selection is By the River of Babylon.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's Holy Sabbath Day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Oftentimes we read things and we start repeating those things. We know that in the book of Daniel it says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. But what we have to understand is the saints of the Most High will be taking the kingdom back. As it is written, the wicked possessed the kingdom and they took it by force. So without those things being deeply rooted in our minds, it sounds like the children of Israel are doing some great disservice or some bad thing when you read that the saints must take the kingdom. The saints would have to take the kingdom back. That's the thing that really needs to be there. When we consider that, then we will understand that statement a little better. But what happens is this book, because these things are laid out, it is assumed that there are certain things that we just understand. It assumes that we just understand that it was taken from Israel. So it's only right that the children of Israel would have to take it back. The wicked is never going to give you anything. And the more anybody possesses whatever it is, whether it's theirs or not, every hour it remains in their possession, it becomes more of theirs to them. So we're talking about a considerable amount of time that the heathen has possessed the Holy Land in one way, shape, fashion, or form. So you're talking about a great battle that will have to take place before those things are given back, especially when you go from generation to generation. and lies were handed down to each generation to make them feel like those things actually belong to them. So then they grew up from day one believing that this belongs to them. So they're going to fight even, more hardy because this is something that they have been told from day one. We're going to begin today's sermon in Jeremiah chapter 4. And the title of today's sermon is The Violent Takeover of Jerusalem. See, we wonder why it is just riddled with war. Every time we turn on any kind of international news, and believe you me, there's a lot that happens every day in Israel that's not told to us. There's certain things that you just have to go looking for, and then you find out, all of the killings that they're saying is happening here. Man, about 10 times that is happening in Israel every day. The same things that the people are protesting against with the way that the police treat people is the same thing the Israeli police do to everybody who's not Israeli. But those kinds of things are not going to be shown to you. You have to go looking for those things before you will find out that type of information. But because it was born in deceptive blood, it stays in deceptive blood the entire time. It has always been that way since day one. Since the heathen possessed it, they have had to fight constantly. Jeremiah chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
If you will return, O Israel, says Yahweh, return unto me. And if you will put away your abominations out of my sight, then shall you not remove. And you shall swear, Yahweh lives, in truth, in judgment, and in righteousness. And the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. For thus says Yahweh to the men of Yehuda and Jerusalem, break up your fallowed ground, and sow not among thorns. Circumcise yourselves to Yahweh, and take away the foreskins of your heart, you men of Yehuda and inhabitants of Jerusalem.
And if you guys have not received a email with the trivia questions for today, please send an email to theuci.org@gmail.com. That is if you have not received. Check your email first to make sure. But if not, then send that email in and you will send out those trivia questions. Go ahead.
Lest my fury come forth like fire and burn that none can quench it because of the evil of your doings.
Right. So what Yahweh does is, and it's the same things that's going on now. Yahweh will send men to give the children of Israel warning. What happens with Israel and pretty much all men on the face of the earth is that we have respect to persons. So what happens is we decide who we want to listen to, who we want to take information from, who we're going to receive direction from, who we're going to receive chastisement from. So what happens when Yahweh gives this information unto his prophets and send them out to go and talk to Israel, we ain't trying to hear it. Because we will only hear certain things from certain people. Why do you think Moshe ended up saying, after my death, you're going to surely turn against Yahweh? He knew his people. It wasn't that they had like this great amount of love for Yahweh. Our people are real funny. We follow Yahweh as long as there is a physical man that Yahweh has shown his spirit to be among, then we walk in the statutes. But every time that individual dies, we all of a sudden act like we don't know Yahweh. It is utterly amazing. And it happens over and over and over again. We pay more attention to the dude that Yahweh using than we do Yahweh. And if we paid attention to Yahweh, it didn't matter who he spoke to. If he spoke through a donkey and the donkey came in here and said, don't walk over there, Esaac. We're supposed to be able to hear Yahweh in the donkey. But see, I'm going to tell you what Jake going to do. Yahweh will make a miracle, make the donkey speak. Jacob said, he ain't got no fringes on. Damn, the donkey need to wear fringes. Yahweh just gave him the ability to speak, but he need fringes on? Right. That's us. We'll look past the miracle, stumbling over a law. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Declare you in Yehuda and publish in Jerusalem, and say, blow you the trumpet in the land, cry, gather together, and say, assemble yourselves, and let us go into the defense cities. Set up the standard toward Zion. Retire, stay not, for I'll bring evil upon the north and a great destruction.
I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. You have to see the peculiar place in which Israel sits. It is right in the middle of you can have access to every nation from right there. North, all the Gentile lands sit directly north of Israel. Right beside it, of course, Egypt. We know Egypt was originally inhabited by Hamites, which means burnt black. This is where all the so-called African nations, we have everything right there in that middle. That's why Yahweh said, I picked out a spot for me, a place that I have espied. It is the milk. It is the honey. It is the greatest of all lands. Why? Because I can deal with everybody from right there. I need to be sitting right there in the middle. And he can get to everything from right there. If he all the way down here, he got to go all the way. No. Sit me right in the middle. That was his land. He picked it out for himself. Why do you think when he said, I'm going to give this land to Israel, he had to move the Canaanites? Those were all Africans that we had to pull out of that land. So the beginning of Israel was these people have this land that Yahweh has espied for himself, and they're not acting right in it. Then we get the land, don't act right in it, and we get pulled out of it too. So when we deal with that, we have to see the significance of where this land sits when it says, I will bring evil to you from the north. See, a lot of times when we say certain things, people don't really get that. Understand, when this siege is happening, these Gentiles are now about to rule the earth. So running north, when people decide that they say, oh, Israel, we've always had Israelites to live here, live there. Israel is spread everywhere. But when you talk about this destruction, the destruction came from the north, not from the south. So when it comes from the north, especially Judah, because Judah is left last, that's who's going to end up primarily south, because that's the direction that they have to run in. Go ahead.
The lion has come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He's gone forth from his place to make your land desolate, and your cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant.
Now, you have to really look at this statement, or else you'll take that out of context. It took me a while sometimes to really look at it. The lion has come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. Of is a derivative of from. So when you keep reading, he is gone from his place to make your land desolate. So Yahweh is allowing the Gentiles to have this power to destroy Israel. And your cities shall be laid waste without inhabitant. Keep going.
For this gird you with sackcloth, lament and howl, for the fierce anger of Yahweh is not turned back from us.
Right. So the Gentiles are the destroyers that he's sending into this land. And he's allowing it because Israel refused to follow his statutes and judgments. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass at that day, says Yahweh, that the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes, and the priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder.
Right. So you have all of these things that are going to take place here. Now, open up your Apocryphas and let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1. First Maccabees chapter 1, and let's begin with verses 1 through 5, because we ended up talking about some things a week or so ago, and I want to show you guys those very things so that we will understand what's actually taking place. The first book of Maccabees chapter 1. And as you read this, and like I always say, you're going to easily find out why the Euro-Gentiles, the European Gentiles, did not want this as part of the canon. Because it's very easy to decipher who has destroyed the Holy Land. Go ahead.
And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
The first over Greece. So now we're now mentioning things by name. We have people by name. We have Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian. We have specific information as to how this destruction is coming upon the children of Israel. But nowadays, we have those same individuals acting as if they are going to restore the Holy Land. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die.
All right, so then let's go back to verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So that gives us our biggest clue when we see Greece. Go to the next graphic. Reading that, it says, brother, can you read the things from that next graphic?
From the encyclopediabritannica.com. Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia. Alternative titles: Alexander the Third, Alexander of Macedonia, Alexander the Great, also known as Alexander the Third or Alexander of Macedonia.
Now, how many times when we read about or we have heard about this so-called Alexander the Great in school, did they magnify that it was, under his people that, Jerusalem was just done in, that this is the beginning of the destruction of the children of Israel? But they'll tell you how good and how great people are. And when you read their dealings, you find out that they did some of the most evil things ever. We have people listed in American history as all kind of heroic. You start reading, they have all kind of slaves. They have done all manner of evil. But the book that they gave to us, the stuff that they gave us, they were straight, just absolutely amazing. Did no wrong whatsoever. That's the his in story. Go ahead, bro. Let's go back to First Maccabees.
Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
So he split those things upon his 4 generals. Go ahead.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
So the evils were then multiplied in the earth, coming out from up under these Greeks. Go ahead.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Now, ain't this us? This still us today. Go ahead.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Now, we have had much sorrow since we departed from them. This is the kind of dedication we're supposed to have toward Yahweh. We got that kind of dedication toward the heathen. Go ahead.
So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Right. They got a license to do evil. Because understand now, our people, when somebody is doing something wrong, then somebody come up, hey, brother, don't you know that this is the Sabbath? Why are you doing such and such? I guess you didn't see this license. I got this from the king. I don't have to keep Sabbath. Hey, brother, ain't that somebody else's wife? Yes, it is. But I guess you didn't see this license. What? Oh, yeah. They wanted us to deal in those kind of ways. So they gave us authority to do them. Go ahead.
Here's where you get that fornication under consent
Of the king. Yes, sir. And I ain't going to go into that abbreviation. We're just going to leave that alone. It's a family show. Go ahead, brother.
We also had that where, what it was, a couple of people that we know, one person made the vow to Yahweh, and then another person got in a position and changed his vow, said, oh yeah, he told me it was okay. Remember that situation? Mm-hmm. How you gonna let a man break your vow that you made with Yahweh? Mm-hmm. That's basically what they're doing here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody comes in and they forget everything else. Go ahead.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem.
Right. And if you don't know how evil the place of exercise is, understand. All you got to do is understand what happens in the gym now. People will walk around with no clothes on and just talk to you like it's normal. But that now happens in the back part of the gym. During their business of exercise, they did it all over the gym. See, they played basketballs. That's a different game. That's a totally different game. That's a different game. Go ahead, bro.
According to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots, and elephants, and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled.
Right, and all you got to do, look in at the graphic and you see the generals, you see that same name there. So even the ones who are supposed to be together, sooner or later, they fight each other for power too. Go ahead.
And many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof.
Now, you have to see how Yahweh deals with things. He first tries to get Israel's attention. He says, do all of these things. Walk in the law, statutes, and judgments that I've given unto you. Do this. Seek me with your whole heart. Israel refuses. Then he allows the heathen to come in, and the heathen take all of the things that you would not deal with. And let me tell you something. Israel is the funniest group of people in that once you take something from us, now we want it more than we wanted it when we had it. Go and get something that ain't nobody paying attention to, but they know it's there. Go and pick it up and walk to the side of the room. Watch it become the most important thing of their life. I always say, okay, you don't care nothing about my covenants? You don't care nothing about my laws? You don't care nothing about none of that? All right. When the heathen come in and tell them they can't do it, now we distraught. You wasn't doing it before. Go ahead.
And the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the vial, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went up into his own land, having made a great massacre.
Great massacre.
And spoken very proudly.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed.
The beauty of women was changed. Now, you consider something. With all of the zeal in which the heathen comes to attack, when we get ready to half do all of the things that Yahweh has given us, if you actually consider the weight in which the punishment is going to come to you, it would make you have more zeal in serving in the first place. Because all the zeal that you don't put in, believe you me, he going to give that zeal to the heathen when they come attack you. Go ahead.
Verse 27. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Yehudah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side.
Right, now, these Gentiles coming in setting things on fire. And as soon as things go wrong here and a building catch on fire, they say, y'all, this looting just don't make no sense. Y'all just keep setting fire. And half the time, that ain't even us setting the fire. Hey, you need to go find Sarah. She set that fire. We didn't put that on fire. But look, this is why people feel so sensitive about it. Because this is what they did over and over. Every time people wouldn't do whatever they wanted them to do, there would be a mysterious fire. What you think the whole KKK? Anytime the KKK, people didn't do what they wanted them to do, there would be a mysterious cross on fire in your burnt yard, in your front yard. Now, if that didn't work, then the whole house would burn. So the cross was a warning. After that, they firebombed the whole house. Things got too prosperous in Oklahoma. Them people were too rich. They set the whole town on fire. Then passed a wicked law saying that you can't build on burnt land, making sure that no insurance claims would be paid out. But they want to tell us something wrong with us when the windies catch on fire. So what? A couple spicy chicken sandwiches gonna be hotter. They burned down whole cities. Barrel bombs. Kill whole communities. Nothing was ever said. Not one, all these people had insurance. Not one insurance claim was paid. And that's not anything new. This has been going on. Soon as you don't do what they want you to do, there's a mysterious fire. Go ahead.
Verse 32. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then built they the city.
Do you see the same thing? You see who they primarily want to kill? The men. You see what they took captive, right?
Mhm.
The women and the children. The children you can brainwash into to being subservient with the absence of the male. The women you take and they become incubators for the heathen's children. Right?
Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
They put therein a sinful nation. So when people start telling me they bragging about how long they've been in Israel, I just note to self, is there a lot of y'all? Oh yes, we need to kill all those. Yeah, where your folks at? Oh, okay. Right over the hill? Yeah, all of them need to die. Fuck is it? The book tell us how they got in there. See, Israel was taken out. So when they start bragging about how long they've been there, that tells me something. That tells me a lot. Go ahead.
They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it.
So they did that on purpose. Knowing how much Israel depended on those things, if they could not control it, then they would destroy it. Go ahead.
Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers.
The city was made an habitation of strangers. Go ahead.
And became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her.
Her own children left her, and it became a city of strangers. Go ahead.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
All should be one people. Now, this might sound like it's a really good statement, that we're going to forget our differences, see, and we're going to be one people. Translation is, I want y'all to be devils just like us. So when you hear that and it sounds real nice to you, wait for the devilistic implementation of that so-called nice statement. We should all be one people. Read.
And everyone should leave his laws.
There you go.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Right. The heathen don't have no reason not to go against it. It's a win-win for them. Go ahead.
Yes, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
There go us.
And sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat.
There we go.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yehudah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Shabbat and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves.
Hold on. I need you to understand what's all happening here. Moreover, verse 41, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So in other words, now we're going to swap Yahweh's commandments with the commandment of who's ever in charge. Verse 43, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. They changed their religion based upon who the new leader was. These people attack us. They seem like they stronger. Let's worship their God. And sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. So when we go to church on Sunday and those people tell us that, yeah, we keeping the Sabbath, but we keeping it on Sunday. Understand where they getting that from. This is an attack against the Sabbath that has been happening for generations upon generations. It says, verse 44, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and to the cities of Yehudah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. So it's something that should have sounded funny about those laws when we heard them, because they were strange. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices. These are things you cannot do. Now, following Yahweh's law is now against the law. Forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and the festival days. So all the holy days are now off limits. So you may not see it when you get ready to talk to, your deacon cousin, and you say, yeah, we keeping the Sabbath. That was it right there. Right. They don't even know where they got it from. Go ahead.
Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
Pollute the sanctuary and pollute the holy people. Wait a minute. See, if you pollute the people, there's no one there to orchestrate any kind of righteous offering or any kind of righteous dealings toward Yahweh. So you don't need to just pollute the sanctuary, but pollute the people who's supposed to work in the sanctuary. See, they got a plan. Go ahead.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols.
Right, groves, Christmas trees. Set up your Christmas trees. And if you want to make black folk happy, just put up a Christmas tree. It ain't got to be around Christmas. Just pull up the tree. Go ahead.
And sacrifice swine's flesh.
There you go. In every last one of the heathen gatherings, there's a pig there. They knew that we knew it was a filthy beast. So to defile our place of worship, they are going to sacrifice their pig on it. Go ahead.
An unclean beast. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
So in other words, I need to separate y'all from Yahweh. For us to be one people, for me to be able to actively rule over you as a people, I need to completely separate you from the God of Israel. That's why the majority of our people think his name is Lord. Go ahead.
In verse 45, it says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice, right? But then we were turned around and convinced to sacrifice swine's flesh.
Exactly.
Sacrifice is sacrifice.
Right. First, go against the sacrifice, then make the sacrifice to the idol using a pig. Well, if sacrifice is illegal, why are we doing the sacrifice to your God then? But see, we wise to do evil, but to do good, we know it not. Go ahead.
To the end, they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die.
Whosoever would not obey the commandment of the king, he should die. This is the death penalty. You get the death penalty if you don't obey the king's wicked commandment. So when we see the things that we think is unfair, and we watch the police treatment, do you understand what we could be dealing with? This is not anything strange. Go ahead.
In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people.
He appointed overseers to all the people. So the overseers they were to make sure that people did evil. Just imagine a policeman turn on the siren. Whoop, whoop. Hey, pull over. Hey, man. Did I just see you doing good? Am my eyes deceiving me? Did I just see you do good? Do it again, I'll swoop for good, you're going to jail. What? That's against the law, do good over here, bro. Wow. Go Go ahead.
You know, I think it's KRS that has it in one of his songs where he goes, overseer, 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 officer.
Officer, right. But see, that's why they got rid of that kind of music. Because see, that kind of music, we was learning something. See? It was in that music where he was talking about black cops. He was talking about police, period, that it came from the slave patrol. That stuff was in our music when we grew up. That's the kind of rap music that we heard when we were young. These kids ain't hearing them murder, murder, death, death, kill, kill, murder, murder, death, death, kill, kill. And they be in their sleep. Murder, murder, death, death, kill, kill. Read, man.
Commanding the cities of Yehuda to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered onto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even whithersoever they could flee for safety. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar.
They set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar. The same thing Daniel said is going to happen in the end days. Same thing they did then, they're going to do again. They love that pig. And they're going to bring that pig somewhere and sacrifice it. When you watch those old movies, man, and they all dressed up in all their royal attire, you see a big old pig with an apple in his mouth. That pig somewhere. When you go to one of the heathen things, all you got to do is try to, where is that pig? That pig is around here. Oh, there you go. He is somewhere. Go ahead.
And built idol altars throughout the cities of Yehuda on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them.
They tore up the books of the law. And this was pushed by the ruling authority. Let me give you the New Testament version of that. Are you reading that bondage? Are you reading that from the Old Testament? That bondage? Right. They tore up the books of the law. Same thing. Go ahead.
They burnt them with fire. And wheresoever was found with any that the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month.
Every month. They got a monthly crew that go out and look for people who still keeping Yahweh's culture. And we can't figure out why people are afraid of it when you start talking to them and the inner fear just kicking in. Oh no, don't tell me no more. I don't want to hear no more. And you try to figure out, well, what are they so afraid about? That fear was deeply inbred in there. That's deep down. Go ahead.
To as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Elohim.
So they transformed the altar of Elohim into the altar of their idol god. Go ahead.
At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
So for them to go through these things and execute the women who had circumcised their children. Now, the children ain't just walking around butt naked. So that means they got somebody making pee-pee check. They going, grabbing, chilling, checking to see if the little boy is circumcised. It's a twisted situation there. That you're just going and grabbing the little children to see if they've been circumcised. Because at the end of the day, how do you know they've been circumcised unless you check? But understand, this thing got so wicked that our people start checking too. So you got a lot of things that starts to happen because of this evil. Go ahead.
And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses.
Right, they hanging the infants. Now, where does that hanging sound familiar? We done recently so-called found some people hanging here, and they just wanted to commit suicide. It's amazing how they commit suicide in the middle of the night. Like, people don't want to kill themselves until don't nobody see them hanging. They just got to wake up and see them hanging. Yeah, something don't sound right about that. Go ahead.
And slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
Now consider what kind of punishment, what kind of weight that is on you, that people are dying just because they do not want to eat certain food that the heathen is pushing upon them. And we will come up and tell our little sad stories. We swear we going through something. But ain't now one of us had to die because they didn't have no turkey bacon. Go ahead, brother.
In those days arose Mattathias, the son of Johanan, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Yorab from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons. Johanan called Caddis, Simeon called Thassis, Yehudis, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apis.
And one thing you find out, Israel don't never call nobody by their name. Your name in Israel is merely a suggestion. You meet somebody, I got 2 syllables. I say, hey, how you doing? My name is Esaac. It's yes, sir. What the hell was hard about E and Sock? Apparently, it was too long. And I'm going to tell you how much power Israel got. Israel got so much power that you start to call yourself what they call you. Hell, I didn't name me Sock. Other people did. Now people ask me, what's your name, Sock? Read, man.
And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Yehuda and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants were slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation has not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
What nation has not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? That's why Yahweh said, I'm going to invite all the nations down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I'm going to plead with them there for my heritage Israel. I'm getting everybody. People say, well, Switzerland is neutral. No, they held the money. Come on down here. Come on. Then you hold it. Ain't you got them banks in there? And then y'all hold our money? Come on down here. Oh, it's going to be a sad day when the bankers got to come down to the wall with their towel. They don't even know what fatigues look like. Because, see, they hadn't had to really do the dirty work in the war. All they had to do was finance it. Here's 100,000 bombs here. So they ain't never had to get their hands dirty. When Yahshua show up, they going to get their hands dirty. Come on down. Ain't no playing like you're innocent. Now, if you held the money, if you transported the money, if you made the ship that put my people, I want all of you. Come down. Go ahead.
All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she's become a bond slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste. And the Gentiles have profaned it.
I'm sorry, who profaned it?
The Gentiles.
Who?
The Gentiles profaned it.
Right, and they want us to believe that the very same Gentiles who profaned it is the one who went and got Israel and brought them back in the land. You're the one that destroyed it. Go ahead.
To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came on to Mattathias, also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias, on this wise, you are a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come you first and fulfill the king's commandment.
This is how they work. They start at defiling at the top. So if you defile the honorable people at the top, they will then encourage all the other people to be defiled as well. Why do you think they put that weight on Daniel? Hey, there's a decree that this should not be done. But these men right here have done such and such. Go ahead.
Like as all the heathen have done, yes, and the men of Yehuda also, and such as remain at Jerusalem, so shall you and your house be in the number of the king's friends, and you and your children shall be honored with silver and gold.
Right, I'll give you silver and gold, and you can be my friend. Just come over here in the sight of everybody and do the same evil that we do, and I will promote you. You will have honor here, as it is to this day. Every time there's a disturbance, one of our pulpit pimps will limp right over in the disturbance and talk to him real smooth and tell him to go home. That's how they become friends. Go ahead.
And many rewards. Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Elohim forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Yehudis in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
Right. That zeal for Yahweh's word caused people to move. So imagine the people who stand in the middle. You know, those people who say, you know, I'm not going to choose either side. I'm just going to be neutral. I'm going to be like Switzerland. You got the king and all his evil people on this side. Then you got the religious zealots of Israel on this side. Oh, it's a hard place for the neutral people. Because the king trying to kill you if he think you agree with the Israelite zealots, and the Israelite zealots trying to kill you if they think you agree with the king. So everybody keep thinking that they going, because see, neutral don't work for a lot of people here. They say, oh no, I don't want to make a decision. I'm not going to do that. Time going to come when you're going to have to pick whether you're going to be on the left or the right. Go ahead.
Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of Elohim, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri in the son of Salom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law, and maintain the commandment, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled in the mountains, and left all that ever they had in the city.
They left everything they had. See, that's the first thing that'll stop us. Because we'll be on our way to the mountains and we're still trying to take the flat screen television. Bro, where you gonna plug that up at? Go ahead.
Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
Right, here we go with that wilderness thing again. Go ahead.
Both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret place in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Shabbat day. And they said unto them, let that which you have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and you shall live.
This is their last warning to him. All right? So they approached him on the Sabbath, knowing that as we say Shabbat Shalom, we are having peace on Yahweh's Sabbath day. The heathen then is going to use our attempt to have peace on the Sabbath day against us. Should sound very familiar. As somebody came and had Bible study with a bunch of old Christians. I mean, it's old people up in here. And this boy go in here acting like he having Bible study with them. Have the Bible study, then turn around and kill 8, 9 of them in the church so they can get the race war started. And you said, where would he even get such a wicked thing to go attack somebody at church? Keep reading.
Verse 34, but they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Shabbat day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that you put us to death wrongfully.
And that may be very correct, but they still dead. Go ahead.
So they rose up against them in battle on the Shabbat, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
Right. And people want to tell you how wrong something is and things like that. It's because certain parts of history is not going to be told. This is supposed to be in the regular part of the Bible. But you got to get another book to read this part. Because we see in the faces that go with these stories. And it's funny, when it comes down to the major people to be worshipped, everybody want to show you a Gentile image. Okay, give us them same Gentile images when they talking about everybody who went down there, killed men, women, and children, hang the infants by their neck, set people on fire, set buildings on fire. Please give us those same images then. Go ahead.
Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us up out of the earth.
They gonna root us up out of the earth if we all walk around and say, peace on the Sabbath, and we not gonna fight because it's gonna defile Yahweh's Sabbath. He said, ain't no more of that. We done with that. We gonna have peace. And if you break it, then we just gonna have a piece of your something. Go ahead, bro.
At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Shabbat day, we will fight against him.
Right. And no, it shall be the same way here. We gonna have peace, but you come up in here. You come up in here, whether they Israelite, don't think, oh, well, you know, he's talking about Gentile. I don't care what they look like. You come up in here and break the peace, I'm coming. Go ahead, bro.
Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them.
Same thing that happened with King David. As King David is pushed out because Saul's trying to kill him, all the other people who were being persecuted in other places, they kept coming to him. So Yahweh was building King David with people that were being persecuted in other places. That's how he was picking who was going to join him. So there's certain things that happen in our lives that we don't really understand why it's taking place in that manner. He's sending him. I'm sending you to a mighty man. And King David had mighty men come out to him. He didn't go and recruit mighty men. He looked up and they showed up. Hey, where y'all come from? Well, we was getting persecuted over such and such. Hey, where they come from? And these some soldiers. That was Yahweh recruiting. I want you go back. You. Right. Go ahead.
And were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for safety.
The rest went to the heathen for safety. So now they got to run to the heathen from Israel. And quite frankly, that's the way it ought to be. When they get into that land and people are executing righteousness, the ones who are not going to follow righteous, they need to run. They should be running. Where y'all come from? Man, them brothers down there trying to make us keep the Sabbath. They said if we bring one more thing and on the Sabbath, they was going to lay hands on us. Right? Go ahead.
Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised.
I told you. Now we on PP check. See that? Now we going. Hey, girl, bring that baby here. What you do? What? This is my child. Bring that baby here. Pull that diaper. All right, you go ahead. Next. Now, see, we trying to have this neutral stance. This ain't no neutral stance right here. See, what we do in this day and time, and we ask somebody, have you been circumcised? See, it's real nice, you know what I'm saying, nice conversation. We're going to get to the point where they're not going to be asking. Brother going to get straight violated. Anybody taking your word for it? Go ahead.
Those they circumcised valiantly.
And then circumcised them. They didn't just went to go look at it. When they looked at it and it wasn't right, we finna fix it today. Well, I mean, we wasn't ready for that. Well, you've got to be ready now. Snip. Next. Baby crying and everything. Next. Got time to be playing with y'all. Go ahead.
They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings.
Check that out. They had to recover the law out of the hand of the Gentiles. See, this is the part that when everybody show you they Gentile Jesus, they don't show you or go through all of these things as to how that image even came to be. Now show us all of this assault. Show all of that. But we don't get this in Hollywood stories. Why we ain't seen a book, a movie about the Maccabees? Go ahead.
Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now has pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be you zealous for the law, and give your lives pardon for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall you receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment, and was made master of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
Now, it's going through this history in order. So there's some things you need to pay attention to. So it went to Phinehas, and now they're at the time of Joshua and Caleb. What's the next word?
Jesus.
Right. So this lets you know that even in the Apocrypha, the Euro Gentiles was changing everywhere they seen Yahshua into Jesus. And they did it too many times once again. This is supposed to say Joshua. They're talking about Joshua who came after Moshe. You got Joshua, Caleb, you got these kind of things. All of a sudden, you have Old Testament situations, and next thing you see is Jesus. Wait a minute, how Jesus getting? See, this is where somebody come up with a whole doctrine at this point when they come up with something saying, Jesus was in the wilderness. Well, how the hell he get there? He wasn't born yet. Because everywhere they see, and understand, Yahshua, it was many other people named Yahshua. It wasn't just like one Joshua, okay? Just like there ain't one person named Esaac. There ain't one person named Kish. That's why we have surnames and things like that. There's more than, one person with that name. So now, out of nowhere, we're talking about still Old Testament people, yet we see a Jesus out of nowhere. And it don't fit now another name there. And if we were doing that, it would automatically stick out. If we was like, saying, yeah, there was Bob, there was Richard, and then Methuselah came. Wait a minute, what the hell? Who? We had a Bob, a Richard, and a Methuselah? Where the hell did he come from? Go ahead.
Verse 55. Yahshua for fulfilling the word was made a judge in Israel.
Uh-huh.
Caleb for bearing witness before the congregation received the heritage of the land.
Uh-huh. So who went in? Who was the only ones that went in?
Yahshua and Caleb.
Yahshua and Caleb. Okay? So man, they do the same things over and over. They're going to change the likeness and put their God in the story. Go ahead.
David for being merciful possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias for being zealous and fervent for the law was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael
Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Go ahead.
by believing were saved out of the flame. Daniel for his innocency was delivered from the mouth of lions.
And still, all of this is Old Testament. Okay? So we know the order and the things of what they're speaking of. So we know then in verse 55, when they all of a sudden we see Jesus, this is what confuses people. Because now a whole erroneous doctrine was born because somebody read that, did not have a teacher, and now they had to make up a story for how Jesus was in the wilderness. Go ahead.
Even if you do your research, we know it's not a Hebrew name. Jesus is not a Hebrew name.
No.
And here we seen he's calling them all by their Hebrew names, Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael.
Uh-huh.
Most people saying, who are they?
Right. Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro. Right. Right. And but he didn't say none of them names.
No.
He didn't say none of them names.
Which was given them by the heathen.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
And thus consider you throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he's returned into his dust, and his thoughts is come to nothing. Wherefore, you, my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall you obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simeon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. As for Yehudis Maccabeus, he has been mighty and strong, even from his youth up.
Uh-huh.
Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people.
Right. So then Yehudis Maccabeus is then going to be the next leader of this revolt after Mattathias dies. Go ahead.
Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge you the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them, and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modin. And all Israel made great lamentation for him.
Now, all of these things were then, of course, brought in because of the Greeks. And now let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 8. And our people have had so many issues with the Euro Gentiles that we then sought out help from another group of Gentiles to help us with these Gentiles. Sound like Dr. Dre going to get Suge Knight. A bad situation. You know, he just went and got a bigger devil to help you with a lesser devil. But at the end, you stuck with a devil. Chapter 8, let's start that at verse 1.
Now Yehudis had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amenity with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the utmost part of the earth, till they had discomfited them, and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. Beside this, how they had discomfited discomfited in battle Philip and Perseus, king of the Scythians, with others that lifted up themselves against them, and had overcome them. He also Antiochus the great king. How also Antiochus the great king of Asia, that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants, with horsemen and chariots, and a very great army, was discomfited by them, and how they took him alive, and covenanted that he had such as reigned after him should pay a great tribute, and give hostages, and that which was agreed upon. And the country of India, and Media, and Lydia, and of the goodliest countries, which they took of him, and gave to King Eumenes. Moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them, and that they, having knowledge thereof, sent against them a certain captain, and fighting with them slew many of them, and carried away captives their wives and their children, and spoiled them, and took possession of their lands, and pulled down their strongholds, and brought them to be their servants unto this day.
Right. So now we're gonna seek out a meaner group of Gentiles, because we being assaulted by this group of Gentiles. Go ahead.
It was told him, besides, how they destroyed and brought under dominion all other kingdoms and isles that at any time resisted them. But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept amenity, and that they had conquered kingdoms both far and near, insomuch as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. Also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displaced finally, that they were greatly exalted. Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house.
A senate house. So when you look up the same situations of law that we have here in this country, understand that it's the same Roman setup that they brought here. This is why when we read things and it starts talking about the daughter of Babylon, do understand where she got her whole system from. She got it from her mama. Go ahead.
Wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered.
Right. 300 plus people sitting having counsel See? So to us, looking at that, oh man, they got all these wise people to sit down and give counsel on all these matters. That same thing gonna backfire on them later. Go ahead.
And that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country.
Sound like the president. Right? Right. Go ahead.
And that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them.
I think our people didn't understand what stuff looked like on face. See, I think we got we was tricked because it looked like it wasn't no envy among them. Oh, they was fighting constantly. We just wasn't used to people fighting like this. How you doing? We gonna kill him. See, we wasn't used to that. See, we call that corporate America. It was corporate Rome. They see we got completely fooled there. Because we know all manner of evil was happening amongst these people. They fighting each other for power. They doing all kind of things in that Roman setup. But it appeared another way from us on the outside peeking in. Go ahead.
First Maccabees chapter 8 and verse 17. In consideration of these things, Yehudis chose Epiphanes, the son of Johanan, the son of Achus, and Jason, the son of Eleazar, and sent them to Rome to make a league of amity and confederacy with them, and to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them. For they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. They went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spake and said, Yehudis Maccabeus, with his brethren, and the people of Yehuda, have sent us unto you to make a confederacy and peace with you, and that we might be registered your confederates and friends. So that the matter pleased the Romans well. And this is the copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again in tables of brass, and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. Good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Yehudis, by sea and by land forever. The sword also an enemy be far from them.
Now understand, we sought out this help. And ultimately, who ended up destroying Jerusalem down to the bedrock was the Romans. And we went and asked for this help. They helped us, all right. They helped us out of all our treasures. They helped us out of all our land. Oh, they helped us. When we talk about who went through with the crucifixion and who tortured the Mashiach, it's these Romans, these ones who we sent ambassadors to. Go ahead.
If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, the people of the Yehudis shall help them, as the time shall be appointed, with all their heart. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships, as it has seemed good unto the Romans, but they shall keep their covenants without taking anything therefore. In the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Yehudis, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall be appointed them. Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it has seemed good to the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants, and that without deceit. According to these articles did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Yehudis. Howbeit, if hereafter the one party or the other shall think meet to add or diminish anything, they may do it at their pleasures, and whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified.
All right, let's go to our 2 Kings chapter 17. And that little help that we solicited, do understand that eventually Titus comes in kills over 1.2 million Jews, takes a considerable number and send them to the salt mines in Egypt. The rest he used for sport in his arenas, making them fight against each other, making them fight against animals. If you go and watch the movie Gladiator, that was what the Romans were into, and it was a gladiator fight to the death. So when we go and we watch our football games and it say the Lions against the Bears, that would be us against Lions and us against Bears. Oh, and it was to the death. Okay? So it was a brutal death match. We were put in those arenas for sport. As it is to this same day, we go and try our best to get on a professional team so we can play in the arena for sport. And what they do is it's a strange situation because, you know, you watch football and you want to see a brutal hit, but then we also been told, okay, we don't want them to get hurt. Yeah, but you wanted a brutal hit. You know, we want to see somebody get hit hard, but then when the person don't get back up, then we like, oh. So which one we want? You either want them to get knocked out. Well, we want to see them get knocked out, but we want to see them get back up. See, so it's already a twisted thing where they're not allowed to be as brutal as it was in the beginning. But it was a death match. Somebody wasn't coming back out. And if they won enough, they can become stars. But they were still owned by the owners. They could have called the NFL team CEO. They could have called them anything. They are called owners. They own men. Watch Gladiator. Those were houses that owned people. And they made bets putting those people against one another. One house is betting against another house. And whatever they wanted, those, even though these are fighters who are valiant fighters, the old family still owned them, and whatever they wanted them to do, that's what they were made to do. So a little old bitty skinny old man controlled these huge muscle-bound soldiers. And they did some god-awful things whenever they told them to do it. Go ahead, bro.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 13. Yet Yahweh testified against Israel and against Yehudah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn you from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear.
And if we consider all of the power in which Yahweh is going to come against us, we would not only be more aggressive in hearing his law, but we would also be more aggressive in making sure that his law is kept among us. Because all that we don't do, understand, whomever he allows to come in and punish us, they're going to do everything that we wouldn't do. So we say, well, I don't want to make, I don't want to get in those people's business. I don't just want to go over there and just tell them, that they should do such and such. Oh, don't worry. When he let them Gentiles come in here, they're going to be all up in your living room telling you what the hell you're going to do. So either you can go over there and tell them to get that right, or you can wait until he bring that invading army over here, and they're not going to ask him no questions. Go ahead, bro.
Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in Yahweh their Elohim. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them. concerning whom Yahweh had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of Yahweh their Elohim, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of Yahweh, to provoke him to anger.
And you know, you have to be on a totally different level of strangeness to offer up your kids for another god. I mean, burn your kids in the fire. You know how strange that's got? You know how far you got to be in to worship Yahweh, but because these people are offering up their children, you're going to offer your kids up too. See, this would be a good time for a kid to know Yahweh. So when, you know, your folks go, I'm going to offer you up. Wait a minute, we serve Yahweh. You can't offer me up. No, that's foul for that, mama. You tripping. It would do a kid good to know the word. When the mama get off in the, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to offer you up. Go ahead.
Therefore Yahweh was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Yehudah only.
Right. So you have Israel already broken into a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom, and then he automatically, because of how widespread Israel's thing was, did away and scattered the northern kingdom first. Now it would be expected that Yehudah would see what was done unto the northern kingdom and say, oh no, I ain't gonna let that happen to me. But see, when you stubborn and stiff-necked, you can see somebody else get punished for the very thing you doing and still make an excuse why it's okay for you to do it. Didn't you just see them get punished for doing that? Why would you turn around and do the same thing? Man, kids, I love you like a play girl. But look, let me tell you something. If I see you stick a fork in that socket and it knocks you over there past Eliel, there's a 100% chance that I'm not going to do that. You understand what I'm saying to you? I just seen what happened to you from sticking that fork in that socket. Why in the hell would I go and stick a fork in that same socket?
Maybe you can do better.
You know? It really don't make no sense. But pride won't let you change your way sometimes. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Also Yehudah kept not the commandments of Yahweh their Elohim, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made. And Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahweh, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them.
So all we need is an unrighteous example. Go ahead.
Until Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets.
He had said it by all his servants the prophets, but we decide who we're going to listen to. We decide whether or not we're going to listen to Yahweh's prophets or not. Go ahead.
So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim.
Right. To this day, we got people that's walking around talking about they Sephardic Jews. They're from Sepharvaim. Go ahead.
And placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel.
Place them in Samaria instead of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh sent lions among them, which slew some of them.
Right. So soon as they come into the land, they don't understand the way of the land, and Yahweh allows them to be attacked by those lions. Go ahead.
Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, The nations which you have removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and, behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry thither one of the priests whom you brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the Elohim of the land.
Now, this has got to be especially painful for the children of Israel. Because basically, what he said was, go over there and teach the people how to live in your house. Because, see, some of y'all, I guess, we're a little bit more privileged. But you find out, when you got a hoopty, everybody don't know how to drive a hoopty. So, when you give somebody a car that's got some special stuff, you have to tell them, all right, look, when you get ready to hit this brake, you got to pump 2 times, then press down. See, if you get a person who don't know how to drive a hoopty, they dead. Because they're going to press that brake the first time, it don't act right, they done panic. You have to explain to them how to go, teach them the manner of this car. Every time you get somebody's vehicle, you need to be asking, all right, is it any trick situations about this? Because, people will tell you later, oh, did I forget to tell you about those brakes? Yes, you did. And I would like to tell you that there's a dent in your car right now. Because you forgot to tell me that them brakes don't stop right away. Go ahead, brother.
In this situation, we always complain about, man, they made me train my replacement. That's been going on for a long time.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Training the replacement. You wouldn't do right in the land. Now go teach them people how to live in the land. That's got to be especially painful. Go ahead.
Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear Yahweh. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cush made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Sepharvites burnt their children in the fire to Adremelech and Anamelech, the kings of Sepharvaim. So they feared Yahweh and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places.
Right. So they so-called fear Yahweh, but they also made themselves of the lowest people priests. So then you understand why you could look in the land today and see somebody doing a child circumcision. I ain't gonna even, it disgusts me every time I even say it. It's a horrible image that even pop up in your head. But these are priests that's supposed to be performing this, and they done hurt a lot of them children doing that sick, twisted thing. And they was talking about outlawing that in New York City, where the priests do the circumcision, and then they gonna get the excess blood off. It is the absolute sickest thing ever. And see, this come when all these other nations come into Israel, and then they bring their cultures with them. Because you saw why our people, was forcefully going in there to check to see if they had gotten the circumcision. You didn't read nothing behind that they went and got the excess blood off by drinking it. You didn't read none of that. Yet when you get off and all these strange nations get in the land, now you got these twisted things, these twisted rituals that we can't find nowhere in this book. You're not gonna find them because they come from these people with their other gods, and then they merge their things into the culture of Yahweh Elohim. So when people go off, they go to watching the Jewish and they say, well, do you guys do this? No, we don't do that. They said, well, why don't y'all do that? He said, because I can't find it in the Torah. See, those are where our instructions come from. See? So when people start asking me about all those strange things, well, everybody does it. Not the people who follow the Torah. So no, we don't do that. had a Ish go be all upset because we didn't want to use the kudu. He went in there. He verified what I said. Okay, the ram's horn was what our people used, but nonetheless, he's still gonna try to give the reason why it's okay to use the kudu. In other words, they're gonna follow the culture of their other god, no matter what you read to them, because they're only serving Yahweh on the face, so that the appearance of serving Yahweh is there. But the underlying thing is they got something else going on. Go ahead.
Which sacrifice for them in the houses of the high places. That's verse 32.
All right. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 47. So then just in looking at this, we see where not only strange people got in the land of Israel, now strange people have learned our culture in the form of the priesthood. But you have to ask yourself, and when you look at this, they were allowed to do something that we couldn't do. This is the very thing that got us kicked out. Think about what he let them do. They serve Yahweh, but they still worship their own God. Now, you talk about something that was really meant to make you upset. This was the very thing that Yahweh said we couldn't do. You couldn't serve him and serve the other God. He let the heathen serve him and the other God and still left them in the land. And we wonder why the people are not being punished in the land now for the evils that they commit. The heathens were allowed to do that. We're just not allowed to do it. That should be a clue to us when we look in the land and say, how they still there with all the stuff that they do? Because he wasn't putting that. The law wasn't given to them. That judgment is upon the people to whom the law was given. Isaiah chapter 47, and let's start at verse 1.
Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate.
Now, there's a lot that we have to deal with. When you deal with, first of all, this virgin daughter of Babylon, who is the biggest supporter of the imposters that are in the land of Israel right now? America backs up everything Israel does. Matter of fact, we will get into a situation before Israel finish explaining it. America is basically being controlled by Israel at this point. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. See, this virgin daughter has never had anybody press into her land. Every time she go to war, she go to somebody else's land. Not once have you seen a situation where they got to rebuild a whole city. When America got destroyed, she was fighting with her mama. That's a totally different fight when you fighting against the heathen who wants everything of you to cease. Then he goes on another level right here. He says, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. Oh, no. When he says sit on the ground, I am going to take all your power. There ain't no more throne. Go ahead.
Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover your locks.
Uncover your locks. Ain't nobody covering their locks no more. Go ahead.
Make bare the leg. Uncover the thigh. Pass over the rivers.
There's some visuals here that I can't even really explain. I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna do that. It's a family show. Go ahead, brother.
You're naked.
Yahweh's getting very graphic right here. Okay, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Read, my brother.
Your nakedness shall be uncovered.
Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Go ahead.
Yes, your shame shall be seen.
Right. And her biggest shame is what she has in her possession. That she has held the children of Israel and the very harsh way in which she's dealing with us. Now, her shame is now being exposed all over the world. All of a sudden, this same stuff been happening to us for 400 years. All of a sudden now, it's all over the world. You got people marching and picketing who can't even say George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. What's wrong with they did to black man? They came. Now this is going all over the world now. Why? It's time for her nakedness and her shame to be uncovered. This is the beginning. All of a sudden, the entire world is talking about what she is doing in her country. Because she done went to all these lands now and pointed fingers at them people. Look at what y'all doing. Oh, y'all so dirty. Look at what y'all doing. They done went to everybody's land, pointing the finger at them. Now, all those people saying, you mean tell me all this time you was in our land, you been doing this? Oh. Her shame is being discovered. So all that time, you've been holding all these so-called peace forums, and you've been killing these people from day one. Go ahead.
Verse 3, your nakedness shall be uncovered. Yes, your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet you as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit you silent and get you into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms.
Right. That's the reason why they gave her Lady Liberty to sit up there. Says she a Lady of Kingdoms. They about to deal with this lady here. This lady about to get dealt with. Go ahead.
I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into your hand. You did show them no mercy.
No mercy. I gave you my heritage. And look at what you did to them. Go ahead.
Upon the ancient have you very heavily laid your yoke.
Right. This is her shame. See, so he mentions your shame shall be seen, and then he keeps going and he tells you what her shame is. I put my people in your hand and you laid the yoke very heavily upon them. And when you say yoke, when they had a yoke of oxen and they put that big metal thing around their neck and made them plow the ground, the only pictures you can find on the earth where a man is made to do that comes from this place, where they put an iron yoke around our neck and our people walking through the field like oxen plowing the ground. And they were so bold, they the ones that gave us the pictures. Understand something, we was in the field, so we couldn't have kept none of these pictures. Understand, these pictures are available because they posted them. The reason we have the pictures where they all coming out of church with the black body hanging off the tree and they all eating sandwiches and smile, that was a picture they took. We didn't take that picture. We were not in a position to take that picture. The testimony comes from them. Go ahead.
And even when you think about that picture, somebody had to be brought in to set up to take that picture. It ain't like today where we got these little pocket cameras and you run around.
Right.
Everybody didn't have a picture.
Brother, so they posed right by the black feet. As the feet are dangling, you got children standing by in this picture. And this right after church. So you got to understand the mindset here. This, they all in their Sunday best. When you look at the picture, they are not regularly dressed. If you look, you can understand they right coming from church. They all dressed up. They are looking at the hanging. It's a spectacle. Go ahead.
And you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did remember the latter end of it.
Right. Yahweh wouldn't let, the same way he would not let Pharaoh repent. He made it to where they couldn't even see it. Go ahead.
Therefore hear now this, you that are given to pleasures, that dwelleth carelessly, that says in your heart, I am, and none else beside me.
God bless America and no place else. Therefore hear now this, you that are given to pleasures. And why not? Everything is about dealing with pleasures here. You know, part of the things that they'll say here, you know, America is the best country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
How in the hell can any of us say that? Where else have you lived? Have we lived in every other country in the world? So what kind of arrogance is it to say that this is the best country in the world? But see, success makes you think that more success is going to come. And if she is going all over the earth and has not suffered any loss, she believes that that's going to continue. But all you have to do is see a man or team or anything that has had a long ride of success. When they take that one loss, they're broken. They done. We watched that MMA. That Ronda Rousey was beating everybody. I saw her first loss. She was so distraught. When she came into the next fight, you could see the doubt in her eyes. She was trying to psych herself up. Once she lost that second one in a row, she turned to wrestling. She was out. She retired after 2 losses. Man, you know how many people got like 30 wins and 12 losses? You know what really broke her? All the wins that she had before. Because it started to give you that I'm invincible thought. See, sometimes a loss can be some of the best things that ever happened to you. And we don't consider that. We just want to keep winning. But when you keep winning, you never fix holes in your game. So sometimes Yahweh got to give us a loss every now and then. See, that's what's wrong with some of us. We ain't never had a loss. So we think everything we doing is right. But you suffer a loss every now and then, and you'll realize, all right, well, I got to fix that right there. I got to work on this. And Yahweh having love for his people, he gonna make you have a loss every now and then. Because otherwise, it's some things you ain't gonna fix. Because, you know, we those people who give, well, I done did it this long and I'm all right, ain't I? Well, all right then, must be fine. See, we got to have a limb yanked off. Then we'd be like, you know, I probably shouldn't have done that. But, you know, Yahweh would like for you to work on that before you, like, missing a leg. So it's a blessing that he gives us a small loss so that we understand, oh, I got to correct this. Because if you're not a son, he just let you keep going. They don't need to correct it. He's like, no, this is one of Lucifer's kids. Let Lucifer deal with that. Go ahead.
I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Verse 9. But these 2 things shall come to you in a moment and one day.
And one day, she's going to be a widow and have the loss of children. Everything that we have been made to deal with the entire time we've been here. People just had their whole family split up. No warning, no nothing. Get up one day and see your little sister going out the door and never see her again. This is why it's a very big thing when the Euro-Gentiles are stepping out against the atrocities now. See, this is what we read on Bible study. Put a mark on those that sigh and cry for the abominations that be done here. Those people are working out their salvation. Those Gentiles are speaking now. Why is time to speak? Because it's going to be too late to talk when Yahshua again. Ain't no trying to explain to Yahshua.
Yahshua, I was really down with your people. I really was. I was down for the Negro cause. Israelite lives matter.
Go ahead, brother.
The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries, and for the great abundance of your enchantments. For you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, none sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it has perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and none else beside me.
And none else beside me. Greatest place in the world. Built off of completely murdering off a whole race of people with physical and biological warfare, then enslaving another ethnic group of people and forcing them to build your country without pay. Now all of these Fortune 500 companies are finally coming out. We apologize for slavery. Anytime we said it before, they act like they know what we were talking about. We could trace the money and tell that some of these Fortune 500 companies was built with slave money. They said we was tripping. Now all of a sudden, we sorry. We want to help you with programs. We want no programs. Give me some Lucci. Keep your programs. I want gold and silver. You can keep your greenbacks because I know it ain't going to be worth nothing. They can devalue that the next day. Give me $2 million and the next day the $1 million worth $200,000. What happened here? Oh, we devalued the money since we gave so much of it out. Well, give me gold then. Go ahead, bro.
Therefore shall evil come upon you. You shall not know from whence it rises, and mischief shall fall upon you. You shall not be able to put it off.
Right. Spending all their time watching us. We're not going to destroy nothing in this place. They watching everything we do. 5 of us get together and here come the sirens. Whoop, whoop. What y'all doing with? Oh, they call this walking, officer. Yeah, we walk. You put one foot in front of the other foot. And you keep repeating that same action. Go ahead.
Desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Stand now with your enchantments and with the multitude of your sorceries, wherein you have labored from your youth. If so be, you shall be able to profit. If so be, you may prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels.
There you go. Remember where when we read in 1 Maccabees chapter 8, he says, oh, they got all these people who give all this counsel. They sit 300 people giving counsel all day. Oh, and it sounds so great. Right. The multitude of her counselors is not helping her. Why? Because now they can't agree on jack. They got all them counselors and all they do is fight one another. This one against that one. See, we may see a group of Gentiles. Turn over to one of them Fox News channels and you'll hear one group of Gentiles who completely against the other group of Gentiles. This is exactly how Rome was destroyed. The infighting. They are completely against one another. So their counsel is not doing them any good because now it's the same thing as what's happening with the police force. It's gang-like mentality. We have to agree with these people because they're in the same group that we're in. Man, you know how many Republicans have to know that they made a really bad decision in picking that orange guy? But because they're in the same group, they have to act like it wasn't a bad decision. See, that's gang type decision making. Where everybody just act like they on one accord. But man, they know they made a bad decision. He contradict himself in the same press conference. Most people will contradict themselves in another one. He contradicts himself in the same speaking engagement. He agrees with something at minute 2 and completely goes against it in minute 6. Like he don't even remember minute 2. And everything he did is the best that's ever been done. More people than ever. It's the best as far as I've ever heard of. Everything was the best. Everything. They know they made a bad decision. But for sake of that gang style mentality, they are not going to publicly disagree with him. And Democrats going to do the same thing when they get in there. If they get a fool, they're going to agree with the fool until his turn run out. Then they will speak, well, I really, didn't agree. Well, wait a minute. Yes, you did. You came out in support of the idiot. That's what gang type decision making does. Causes you to agree with stuff that you don't even agree with. Go ahead.
You are weird in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from these things that shall come upon you.
The stargazers must be having a hard time with all these creepy clouds around here. Because they're having a hard time looking at the stars beyond these creepy things. The other day, it was just a little black cloud, just a little puff of smoke. I mean, just a little dark cloud. It wasn't even no cloud. It just really looked like somebody was sitting up there smoking a cigarette. I was like, what is these creepy looking little things? But see, Yahweh said he was going to make the earth 7 times hotter. Because they've been worshiping the sun, he going to give it to them. And I think they making these clouds trying their best to block the sun as much as possible. But you're going to find out that stuff that Yahweh make can't block that stuff. But see, Yahweh like to let, he don't like to show all his power at one time. He'll hold off. Let him go ahead and make a few more of their little crappy clouds. And we're going to turn the dial up. And they're going to realize Yahweh ain't nothing to play with. And if this sun now is giving us all kind of sunburn and giving us all kind of issues, when he turned that thing up 7 times hotter, we just gonna be good driving down the street and just watch. You're like, man, he caught on fire while he was walking. You know how we walk around with the little clip of the phone on the side? We're gonna have fire extinguishers just right on the hip. What you got that for? Just in case I got to put a brother out. Go ahead, bro.
Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you with whom you have labored. Even your merchants from your youth, they shall wander every one to his quarter.
Right. This is what gives us the inclination that everybody going back to their own land. They're going to wander back to his own quarter. And we read the same thing from prophet to prophet. All of the mingled people among her shall go back. And when you go on, prophet after prophet ends up saying the same thing. They're going to wander back to his quarter. This is what leaves us in a predicament. But see, they're going to be so bold as to throw us out of here. Because see, our story now is being told all over the earth. When you couldn't get anybody to tell our story. Now I'm looking to see some kind of Jewish stunt pop out. Because we getting too much, sympathy at this point. They have to be number 1 on the sympathy list. So we finna hear a whole nother version of the Holocaust. Right, because too much is being said about us right now. So something is gonna happen at a synagogue, at some point. It's gonna be holocausted. You're like, what is that? Is there another one? Remember when all of a sudden they said all this stuff was happening at the synagogue, then they found out that it was actually a Jewish guy who did it, and then it disappeared from the news. Yeah, that was a sympathy gathering mission. See, too many people paying attention to them black people. Because remember now, this book constantly says that the children of Israel will be afflicted constantly until the return of Yahshua. they can't explain why they own everything. Ain't you supposed to be suffering right now? How you got $1 billion?
Well, I am suffering. You know how hard it hurt my hands to count all this money? My hands, I got carpal tunnel. I'm holding all this stuff.
Right. Feel so sorry for you. Anyway, did you finish that, brother?
None shall save you.
All right. That is all that we're going to do for today. Trivia will be at 5:30. All right. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.